So we don't have a lot new in the COVID space, but I did want to touch on a few things. Someone had asked a question last week and I didn't know the exact answer. So here you go. Someone had asked the guidelines for reporting a workplace exposure to COVID. I think one of the challenges of this obviously is, especially right now with such high spread, it's really hard to tell when someone is exposed in the workplace where they've actually gotten COVID in the workplace. But these are the guidelines around that. COVID-19 can be a recordable illness if the worker is infected as a result of performing work-related duties. So employers are only responsible when you have these three bullets here. If you have more specific questions about OSHA, we actually have an amazing safety partner, CMI, who we can connect you with. Just for members, go ahead and contact the hotline and Jane can hook you up with them. So if you have more specific questions, but here's some good general information. So one of the things I did want to touch on, because I'm talking to a lot of members who are in this boat, last summer, we were all feeling pretty good. The vaccinations were out. We were, the weather was warm, cases were down, and a lot of employers were going back to the workplace, especially smaller employers. A lot of the larger employers have had a real start and stop around this, but smaller employers, especially with a lot of flexibility, were at least going back hybrid. And then Omicron hit in December. I've been talking to a lot of members who've kind of put things on hold, sent everybody back home, obviously the people who can go and work remotely. So what do you do if you've been in a little bit of a holding pattern since 2022 started? Just obviously you want to keep abreast of whatever's going on locally, statewide, on a federal level. For the most part, we're no longer in the have to do's. We're in the, what do you want to do? What should you do to keep your workplace safe? But still, you want to pay attention, especially in some of the cities, Philadelphia, New York, et cetera. There are more specific safety guidelines. Think about a written safety plan. We all had safety plans, or most of us had safety plans back in March of 2020. Do you have a safety plan now? And what should that safety plan, involve? Are you having we're going to phase back in to having people come back in? You're going to be hybrid. Obviously, we're just talking about employees want flexibility, and there are significant childcare challenges still. Most schools are back live, so elementary, middle, high school, but there's still plenty of kids being sent home for quarantine for exposures. And I know the daycare situation, just from talking to people in my community, it can be significant. They don't have enough teachers because teachers have COVID or teachers are being exposed, and the kids are being sent home pretty regularly to quarantine. Remember, those are the little kids who can't be vaccinated yet. So, just to the extent you can be flexible with your employees, the employees are going to appreciate that. But if you're going to have a written safety plan, what should that look like? Well, again, most of the federal, state, local guidelines are just guidelines. There's not a lot of orders. It's not like 2020 when we'd be told what we could and could not do. But you want to pay attention to your Department of Health. You want to pay attention to the CDC. What are they saying? Put in place a safety plan, communicate to all your employees so everybody knows and understands what the expectations are. What's going to be in there? Things like social distancing, masking, vaccination, testing. What are we doing if we have positive tests? What are we doing if we have somebody who's exposed? What's our protocol? Because we all know as employers, consistency becomes really important. If we have, one employee tell us that they're COVID positive and we tell them one thing as far as when they can come back to the office, and another employee tells us they're COVID positive and we tell them something different, it could look like, at the end of the day, it could end up looking like discrimination. One employee is female, one employee is male. So you want to really think about that. What might you want in a written safety plan? Okay, and just to give you kind of the latest and greatest on the status of the federal government vaccine mandates, the OSHA ETS was blocked by the Supreme Court. Last week I had said OSHA still had a statement on their website saying that they didn't really know exactly what they were going to do. Now they've withdrawn the ETS, and I'm going to give you that statement in a minute. The healthcare worker vaccine mandate is in effect. The federal contractor vaccine mandate remains on hold. I had thought we'd have a ruling by the end of January on that. We haven't seen anything. I didn't check this morning. I got really busy, but I checked at the end of the day yesterday and I hadn't seen anything on that. So stay tuned on the federal contractor vaccine mandate if you are a federal contractor. This is what's on the OSHA website right now with regard to the ETS. So what's interesting is, I won't read the whole thing, but at the end of the second paragraph, the agency is prioritizing its resources to focus on finalizing a permanent COVID-19 healthcare standard. So who knows what's going to what we're going to see from OSHA in the future on this, whether they're going to try to, the ETS was supposed to just be an emergency temporary standard in place for 6 months. Are they going to try to make it a final rule? OSHA still strongly encourages vaccination due to the concerns over COVID-19 in the workplace. So what should you be thinking about? You've heard me say this 100 times now. I think you should be tracking vaccinations. Do you want to issue a vaccine mandate? Some of the private employers have gone, or some of the larger private employers have gone opposite directions on this. I saw in the news Honeywell dropped its mandate. I'm sorry, Honeywell is moving forward with this mandate. GE and Starbucks dropped their mandate. So different employers are doing this in a different way. Citigroup is set to fire their unvaccinated office employees. Keep in mind that if for employers who have implemented private mandates, these are not from the government, private mandates, unless you are in a state that has said no private mandates, the lawsuits have gone in favor of private employers on this. And keep in mind, you've got to allow for reasonable accommodation for disability and religious reasons. What about requiring boosters? I think if you're going to require the shot, let's go ahead and require boosters too, at least that first round of boosters. We were talking about that before we got on the webinar this morning, and who knows how many boosters are going to be recommended down the line, but at least that first round of boosters probably should be in your consideration. And if you're not going to mandate, at least try to do whatever you can to encourage vaccination. That whole carrot and stick discussion we were having for such a long time. What can you do to encourage people to get vaccinated? Put your vaccine policy in writing, whether it's mandatory or voluntary. Put in writing the fact that you're encouraging your employees to get vaccinated. Are you going to do anything to incent your employees to get vaccinated by way of a bonus or by way of special treatment or anything like that? Obviously, time off to get vaccinated, time off to recover from any side effects from the vaccine will go a long way towards making people feel better about taking that time to go out and do that for people who are very busy. And I just gave you the guidelines that were in the ETS. These are not hard and fast, but you could certainly use them. Up to 4 hours to get vaccinated, up to 2 days to recover from vaccination. And I just, this is the gift that keeps on giving. I won't go through these again. I've had these in here for a couple of months, ever since CDC changed their guidance around isolation and quarantine. But this is just so you have them, because you'll get the copy of the slides when they go out after the webinar. All right, I didn't see too much come in. Kevin, do we have any questions?
Yeah, someone just said, did I just hear Hershey's is firing on some vaccines? So I'm not familiar with that. But someone did have a question. Is it possible that vaccine mandates would be job specific, such as customer facing? And I do think we've seen that for sure.
I do think that's okay. It's really important you have a legitimate business reason for your vaccine mandate. So for example, if your workforce is entirely remote and you've decided we're staying entirely remote, you probably don't have grounds for a vaccine mandate. But if everybody's in the office, everybody's dealing with the public, maybe you mandate the vaccine for everyone. And then I do think there's an in-between there, which is, yeah, we have employees who travel, we're going to mandate the vaccine for them. Or we have customer-facing employees, we're going to mandate the vaccine for them. I just have a good, legitimate business reason. I would talk that through with an employment attorney. For members, feel free to give me a buzz and we can talk it through.
Yeah, and I know of one company where their clients are all large companies that have a requirement that visitors be vaccinated. So I think you can make a sales or client service position job requirement. It doesn't have to be necessarily a mandate in that case. Someone asked, does the CDC guidance change to incorporate the boosters fully vaccinated? I haven't
seen that.
Yet.
No.
Okay.
There seems to be a lot of reluctance at CDC to do that.
And another
there are other countries, sorry, Kevin, I didn't mean to talk over you. Other countries have done it. I know some countries in Europe have changed their definition of fully vaccinated to include the booster.
And then does the CDC require a negative test to return? And the answer is no.
No.
All right, I think we covered everything. Amy, as always, thank you very much. We will see you all next week. Thank you for joining us today, and have a great week. Please head to the community site if you're a member and give some of the feedback we're looking for. Take care.